My dear friends, have you ever noticed that the more we try to explain ourselves to people, the less they truly understand us? We spend so much energy telling the world what we do, what we are trying to achieve, what our plans are, and yet very few actually listen with the intent to understand. Many listen only to judge, to compare, or even to criticize. That is why sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Never tell people what you do, let them see it. Let your actions, your results, your character speak on your behalf. Because remember, when you stop explaining yourself, you stop wasting energy and you start investing it in growth, in results, in inner peace. Today, I want to share with you why keeping quiet about your work, your struggles, and even your dreams can actually be the biggest strength in your journey. My dear friends, let's think deeply about this. The moment we start telling people about what we do, what we are planning, or what we are working on, something very subtle but very powerful happens. Words invite judgment. You may have the purest intention. You may be speaking from the depth of your heart, but once those words leave your lips, you no longer control how they are received. They fall into the ears of people who carry their own insecurities, their own filters, their own perspectives. And suddenly, what was meant to be simple and sincere can be twisted, misunderstood, or even ridiculed. Imagine this. You share a dream of starting something new, and instead of support, you hear, "That's too difficult. People have tried before and failed. I don't think it suits you." Now pause for a moment. Did your dream change? Did your ability vanish? No. What changed was the energy you had, because now that seed of doubt has been planted by someone else's judgment. When you reveal too much, you open the door to unnecessary opinions. And not all opinions are wise, not all judgments are fair. In fact, most people judge not because they understand you, but because they don't. And instead of carrying your vision with clarity, you start carrying their doubts as baggage. This is why wise people of the past would say, "Do not explain yourself too much. Your friends don't need it, and your enemies won't believe it." When you constantly explain, constantly justify, constantly announce what you do, you give people the remote control of your emotions. One negative remark, and your enthusiasm drops. One sarcastic laugh, and your motivation shakes. Think about it, my friends. A seed does not announce itself to the soil. It does not shout, "I am going to be a tree." It simply stays hidden, silent, quietly working its way down to take root and slowly, steadily growing upward until one day, without a word, it becomes a tree so strong that no one can deny its existence. In the same way, your actions, your results, your growth should be your voice. Because when words invite judgment, silence protects you. Silence allows you to grow without being disturbed. Silence keeps your dreams pure, untouched by the noise of other people's opinions. So, whenever you feel the urge to tell everyone what you do, pause. Ask yourself, am I sharing this for encouragement, or am I unconsciously seeking validation? Because the truth is, when you truly believe in yourself, you don't need the world to approve. You don't need to convince anyone. You simply need to do. And when you do, when your actions begin to bear fruit, those very same people who judged you in silence will applaud you in public. Let your silence confuse them. Let your success announce you. Let your work speak so loud that no word from your mouth is ever required. My dear friends, one of the hardest truths of life is this: not everyone will support you. It doesn't matter how noble your intentions are, how pure your heart is, or how hardworking you are. When you share your plans, when you reveal your goals, You must be ready for a painful reality. Some people will listen only to discourage you. They will not see your vision. They will see only their limitations. They will not project your possibilities. They will project their own fears. Imagine telling someone, I want to start a business. And instead of encouragement, you hear, do you even know how risky that is? Most businesses fail within a year. Or you say, I want to write a book. And they respond, who will even read it? Do you think you're some great author? You speak your dream out of hope, but what comes back is doubt, negativity, sometimes even mockery. And if you are not strong within, those words can creep into your mind like poison. You may start questioning yourself, wondering, maybe they're right, maybe I'm not capable, maybe I should not even try. But here's the reality, their words don't reflect your potential, they reflect their perspective. A person who has failed will often tell you success is impossible. A person who has never dreamed will say your dream is foolish. A person who has never walked your path will claim the road is too dangerous. And if you believe them, you will shrink your life to the size of their imagination. That's why silence is wisdom. When you do not reveal everything, you protect your dreams from the wrong ears, from the voices that would rather pull you down than lift you up. Let me share a simple example. A young eagle was raised among chickens. Every time it looked up at the sky with longing, the chickens clucked, don't even try. You are one of us. You cannot fly. And slowly, the eagle began to believe them. It lived and died thinking it was just a chicken, never spreading its wings. Now imagine if that eagle had stayed silent, nurtured its wings in private, and one day simply took flight. No explanation, no debate, no argument. The sky would have been its stage, and no chicken could deny what it was truly meant to be. This is what happens to us too. The moment you tell the wrong people your dreams, you give them the chance to limit you. Not because they are evil, but because they cannot see what you see. And sometimes, sadly, they may even envy you. They may secretly fear your success because your rise will remind them of their stagnation. And so, with a smile, they may disguise discouragement as advice. My friends, not everyone who hears your dream deserves access to it. Protect it like a flame in the wind. Too much exposure, and it can be blown out. So, when you feel that urge to share everything with everyone, pause and remember, not everyone will support you. That doesn't mean your dream is wrong. It doesn't mean your plan is impossible. It simply means the audience you chose to share it with wasn't capable of understanding it. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to quietly keep working until your results speak so loudly that even those who once doubted you cannot help but respect you. Silence, patience, and perseverance, these are the shields that protect your vision from the discouragement of the world. My dear friends, have you ever noticed how much of our energy we lose, not by doing the work itself, but by constantly trying to explain the work to others? It's almost as if we spend more effort convincing people of our potential than actually using that potential. Think about it. When you sit with someone and describe your plans, your projects, your vision, you go into details, you answer their doubts, you defend your choices. All of that takes mental strength, emotional energy, and precious time. And the question is, what are you left with after that conversation? Many times you are left drained, not driven, empty, not energized. Energy is like money in your wallet. The more you spend on unnecessary explanations, the less you have to invest in what truly matters. When you constantly announce, constantly justify, you're leaking power. Instead of building momentum, you're building arguments. Instead of creating progress, you're creating debates. And at the end, you may realize, I've spent more energy talking about my goals than actually walking toward them. This is why silence becomes such a powerful discipline. It preserves your energy. It keeps your strength intact. Let me give you an example. Imagine a runner preparing for a marathon. One version of that runner spends hours telling everyone, I am going to run 42 kilometers. I am practicing every morning. My shoes are the best. My strategy is amazing. Day after day, he talks about his training more than he actually trains. Another runner doesn't say a word. He wakes up, he runs, he sweats, he improves quietly. Now, when the marathon day arrives, who do you think will perform? The one who saved his energy in silence and invested it in action. The first one wasted his strength in words. The second one built his strength through discipline. My friends, life is a marathon, not a speech contest. You don't have to announce your every step. Preserve your energy for the work itself. Every time you feel the temptation to explain, ask yourself, if I use this energy to talk, what progress will I make? But if I use this same energy to act, how much closer will I be to my goal? Talking can be satisfying for a moment, but action is fulfilling for a lifetime. Sometimes people think that sharing everything gives them accountability, that if they tell others, they'll be forced to act. But more often than not, it backfires. Why? Because the mind mistakes talking about the goal as being closer to achieving it. Psychologists call this the illusion of progress. When you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you already feel a small satisfaction as if you've achieved something. But in reality, nothing has changed. And that false sense of accomplishment reduces your drive to actually take the steps. That's why silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Preserving your energy also protects your focus. The less you speak, the more mental space you have to think, to plan, to act. Silence creates clarity. It prevents distraction. It keeps your attention on the road ahead rather than the noise around you. Think of an archer aiming at a target. If he keeps explaining his technique to the crowd, he will miss the shot. But if he stays silent, focused, still, every ounce of energy goes into that arrow, and when it's released, the result speaks louder than any explanation could. So, my dear friends, don't waste your precious energy convincing the world. The world doesn't need your explanations, it needs your results. Save your words, protect your strength, and pour all of it into consistent, quiet effort. Because one day, when your work finally shines, you won't have to say a single word. Your success will speak for you, and your silence will have been the loudest message of all. Friends, there is an old saying, actions speak louder than words. And I believe this is not just a phrase, it is a law of life. Because no matter how beautifully you explain yourself, no matter how passionately you talk about your dreams, in the end, people believe what they see more than what they hear. Words can be doubted, but actions are undeniable. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever met someone who constantly tells you, I will do this, I will do that, just wait and see, but years pass and nothing really happens? What do you feel about that person? Slowly, you stop taking them seriously. Their words lose value because their actions don't match. On the other hand, have you met someone who doesn't talk much, but when you look at their life, their consistency, their results, you can't help but respect them? That is the power of actions over words. We live in a world full of noise. Everyone is talking. Everyone is announcing. Social media is flooded with I'm doing this project. I'm chasing this goal. I'm working on this big thing. But when you look closely, how much of it is actually real? How much of it ever sees the light of day? You see, words are easy, but actions require discipline, patience, and persistence. And it is those quiet, consistent actions that eventually make the loudest statement. Think of a farmer. He does not stand in the middle of his field every day shouting, "Look at me, I am growing crops, I am working hard." No, he silently tills the soil, plants the seeds, waters them, nurtures them, often unseen by anyone. Months later, when the harvest is ready, the abundance of crops speaks for itself. No words are needed. The fruits of his labor declare louder than his voice ever could. This man worked. This man was committed. The same is true in our lives. If you want people to respect you, don't try to convince them with speeches. Let your actions do the convincing. If you want people to admire you, don't demand admiration. Let your consistency and results naturally command it. Respect that comes from action is permanent. Respect that comes from words is temporary. There is another dimension to this, my friends. When you let your actions speak, you also free yourself from the burden of constantly explaining. You stop chasing validation. You stop caring about what people think of your words, because you know your work will eventually reveal the truth. And when the truth is revealed through action, no one can argue with it. I am reminded of a story of a sculptor. He would spend weeks and months in silence, chiseling away at stone. People passing by would laugh and say, "What are you doing wasting so much time hitting a rock?" He never explained, never argued, never announced. Then one day, after countless silent hours, what stood before them was a breathtaking statue. The same people who doubted were now astonished, speechless. That is the strength of action. It silences every critic, it answers every question, it commands every heart. So, my dear friends, remember this: you don't need to shout about who you are. You don't need to advertise every step you take. Just keep working silently, consistently. Let your success become the proof. Let your results be your voice. Because when you achieve, when you create, when you grow, no explanation will be needed. Your life itself will become the speech that inspires others. Actions will always speak louder than words. And those who doubted you will have no choice but to listen in silence, my dear friends. There is something fascinating about silence. When you do not reveal everything about yourself, when you hold back from telling the world what you are doing, you begin to create a sense of mystery. And mystery, my friends, is powerful. It makes people curious. It draws their attention. It compels them to look closer, to wonder, to question. What is this person up to? How are they doing it? Where is all this discipline, this growth, this change coming from? You see, when we talk too much, we give everything away. We expose our strengths, our weaknesses, our plans, and even our fears. But when we choose silence, when we let our actions do the speaking, people can no longer predict us. They cannot measure us. They cannot put us in a box. And that uncertainty, though small, creates a magnetic force. People begin to watch you, not because you are speaking, but because you are silent. They sense there is something happening within you, and that intrigue becomes your quiet power. Think of some of the greatest leaders, thinkers, or even inventors in history. They were not constantly announcing every step of their process. They worked quietly, away from the noise, and then suddenly, boom, they revealed something so profound that the world could not ignore it. Their silence built anticipation, their silence built curiosity, and their silence built impact. I'll share a simple example. Imagine you walk into a room and there are two people there. One is constantly talking about what they are doing, explaining, defending, trying to sound important. The other sits quietly, observing, listening, occasionally offering a few words, but mostly staying reserved. Who do you find yourself drawn to? More often than not, it's the quiet one. Why? Because silence makes people wonder. It creates an aura of depth. It signals that there is more beneath the surface. And in that way, silence becomes more influential than words. Mystery is not about deception. It's not about hiding in fear. It's about conserving your energy and protecting your inner world while allowing people to experience your outer results. It's about making sure that not everything about you is available for casual consumption. Because, my dear friends, what is rare is valuable. Diamonds are precious not just because they are beautiful, but because they are not found everywhere. Your silence makes you rare. Your silence makes your energy precious. Even in relationships, this principle holds true. When you constantly explain yourself, constantly seek to be understood, people may start taking you for granted. But when you maintain a little mystery, a little quiet confidence, they begin to value your presence more. Silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It is strength contained. It is like a calm ocean, still on the surface, but carrying unfathomable depth below. And here's the beauty of it, when you create mystery through silence, you do not have to demand attention. Attention comes naturally. People are curious about what they cannot easily understand. They respect what they cannot easily grasp. And that respect, my friends, is far more powerful than the shallow approval you get from over-explaining. So remember this. Never underestimate the power of mystery. Don't tell people everything. Don't feel the need to constantly announce your journey. Protect your inner world. Let your silence build curiosity. Let your actions answer their questions. And let the mystery of your discipline, your growth, and your success speak louder than any words ever could. Friends, there is a quiet wisdom in learning to protect what is precious. Just as we lock our homes at night, just as we safeguard our money in banks, just as we secure our personal belongings, should we not also protect our dreams, our plans, and our inner growth? Because the truth is, not everyone around us carries pure intentions. The world is filled with both supporters and doubters, admirers and critics, well-wishers and, unfortunately, those who secretly envy us. And when you openly tell people what you do, when you constantly reveal your struggles and your progress, you unintentionally invite not only encouragement, but also negativity, jealousy, and interference. Think about it. When you plant a seed in the ground, do you leave it exposed for animals to trample upon? No. You cover it with soil, you water it carefully, you protect it until it becomes strong enough to withstand the elements. Your dreams are like those seeds. When they are young, fragile, and still taking root, they need protection. If you expose them too early to everyone's opinions, the weeds of doubt and the pests of envy can destroy them before they even sprout. Jealousy is a subtle force, my friends. Some people may smile to your face but quietly dislike the idea of you succeeding. They may not say it openly, but inside, your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. And so, without even realizing it, they might throw little remarks, small discouragements, tiny criticisms that slowly chip away at your confidence. Others may not be envious, but may interfere, offering endless advice that confuses rather than clarifies. And then there are those who, simply out of negativity, will try to pull you down because misery loves company. But when you choose silence, When you keep your plans close to your heart, you protect yourself from these unseen forces. You give negativity no entry point. You give jealousy no target. You give interference no chance. Silence becomes your shield. It keeps your inner world safe, pure, and undisturbed, allowing your energy to flow where it belongs. Towards building, towards growing, towards succeeding. Let me share an image with you. A candle flame, when newly lit, is fragile. A small breeze can blow it out. But once it becomes a steady fire, it can withstand the winds. In the same way, your plans and your progress in the beginning are delicate. If you expose them to the winds of envy and criticism too early, they might be extinguished. But if you nurture them quietly, silently, patiently, when the fire grows strong, then no storm can put it out. This is why wise people through the ages have practiced discretion. They knew that silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of protection. Every word you speak is like an open door, and once the door is open, anyone can walk in, whether with blessings or with poison. Why take that chance? Protect your inner world with the lock of silence, and open it only to those who have truly earned your trust. So, my dear friends, remember this: your life, your plans, your growth, they are sacred. Don't put them on display for every eye to see. Don't hand them over to the careless opinions of others. Protect them, guard them, nurture them in silence until they are strong enough to shine on their own. Because silence is not emptiness, it is armor. It is your invisible shield against envy, negativity, and unnecessary interference. And when the time is right, when your work has matured, when your results are undeniable, then you won't need to speak a word. The very people who were once waiting to see you fail will have no choice but to stand in awe of your success. My dear friends, have you ever noticed how restless we feel when we keep trying to explain ourselves to others? Every time someone questions our choices, we feel the urge to justify. Every time someone doubts our path, we want to defend. Every time someone misunderstands our intentions, we rush to clarify. And in this endless cycle of explanation, we often lose the most precious gift of life, our inner peace. You see, when you stop telling people what you do, when you stop seeking their approval, you give yourself permission to rest from this exhausting game of validation. Because no matter how much you explain, there will always be someone who doesn't understand, someone who misinterprets, someone who refuses to believe you. And if your peace depends on convincing the world, you will never be at peace. But the moment you decide, I do not need to explain myself anymore. My life, my actions, my choices will be my answer. A deep calmness begins to settle within you. Let me paint a picture. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. Each stone represents a person's opinion, their judgment, their criticism, their doubts. Every time you explain yourself, you pick up another stone because you are still carrying the weight of what they think. Now imagine setting the backpack down. Imagine walking free, light, unburdened. That's what happens when you let go of the need to explain. Silence removes the stones of judgment from your back, and suddenly your journey feels lighter, your mind feels clearer, your heart feels calmer. Inner peace is not about avoiding challenges. It's about avoiding unnecessary noise. And explaining yourself is one of the noisiest habits of the mind. Because when you explain, you replay arguments in your head, you rehearse conversations, you imagine how others will respond. Your mental energy is consumed in managing people's perceptions rather than living your truth. But when you embrace silence, your mental chatter reduces. You are no longer rehearsing explanations. You are simply doing being, becoming. And that simplicity brings peace. Consider this: a tree does not explain to the world why it grows slowly, why it bends in the wind, why it sheds leaves in autumn, or why it blooms in spring. It simply grows in silence. And in its silence, it is at peace. People may look at it and say, "This tree is crooked, this tree is too small, this tree is not strong enough." But the tree does not argue, it just continues to grow. And one day, its shade shelters the very same people who once criticized it. That is the peace of silent progress. Another important aspect, my friends, is that silence also protects you from the inner restlessness of comparison. When you constantly tell people what you do, you open yourself up to their comparisons. "Oh, but he is doing more. She achieved this faster. They are ahead of you." And suddenly, instead of focusing on your journey, you are disturbed by theirs. You lose your peace not because you are failing, but because you are distracted. Silence keeps you grounded in your own lane. It allows you to run your race without looking left or right. And in that focus, peace is preserved. Peace is also a matter of trust. Trusting that life will reveal the truth of who you are at the right time. You don't have to force it. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to explain it. Just like the sun does not rush to prove its light in the early dawn, it rises slowly, silently, and soon the whole world sees it. The sun doesn't explain, it simply shines. And when you live like that, with quiet confidence, peace becomes your natural state. So, my dear friends, remember this: inner peace is not found in endless explanations, but in silent assurance. When you stop telling people what you do, you stop seeking validation. And when you stop seeking validation, you stop being restless. Your heart becomes calm, your mind becomes still, and your soul feels free. Silence, then, is not emptiness, it is serenity. It is the sacred space where you no longer need to prove anything to anyone, and yet everything you are is silently proven by the way you live. Dear friends, there is something profoundly powerful about results. You see, people can argue with your words, they can debate your ideas, they can challenge your intentions, but they cannot deny your results. Results are irrefutable. They are the ultimate proof that no amount of criticism, no amount of doubt, no amount of negativity can erase. Think about this. When you tell people what you are going to do, they can doubt you. They can say, "It's too difficult, you're not capable, you don't have the resources," or "It's impossible." And while they're busy doubting, you're busy doing. One day, when the fruits of your effort ripen, when your work shines, when your achievements stand visible before the world, those same people who once doubted you fall silent. Because arguments can be dismissed, but results cannot. Let me give you a simple story. Once, a man kept telling everyone in his village that he would build a water wheel to provide irrigation for the fields. The people laughed. They said, You can't even fix your own roof, and you're talking about building a wheel to give water to the whole village." Day after day, they mocked him. But the man stopped explaining. He stopped arguing. Quietly, he began working, gathering wood, shaping it, assembling piece by piece. For months, people saw him carrying logs and laughed even more. Until one day, the wheel stood tall, spinning, pulling water from the river and giving life to the crops. In that moment, the laughter ended. No one asked him to explain how he did it. No one doubted him anymore. His results spoke louder than all his words ever could. That is the power of results, my friends. They silence critics, they inspire believers, they command respect. And this is why silence during the process is so important. Because the more you talk, the more chances you give people to interfere, to discourage, to confuse you. But when you remain silent, when you focus only on action, your results become your response. You don't have to defend your dreams with words. You defend them with success. Even in our personal lives, this principle applies. Imagine a student who keeps telling everyone, I am studying so hard, I will top the exam, I will be number one. Some will encourage, some will doubt, and some will laugh. But imagine another student who says nothing, who simply studies in silence, consistently. On the day of results, the mark sheet reveals the truth. Who needs to talk anymore? The one with results holds the final word. And let us not forget, results are not only about external achievements like wealth, position, or recognition. Results can be inner too. When you cultivate peace, when you radiate kindness, when you grow in wisdom, people may not understand your silence, but they will feel your presence. They will see the change in your character. They will notice the maturity in your responses. They will sense the depth in your being. And these results of inner work are often more powerful than outer accomplishments. They transform you into someone people cannot ignore. Another beautiful truth is that results protect you from endless explanations. When you have results, you don't need to prove anything anymore. Imagine someone asks you, are you capable? Your words may convince some, but your results will convince everyone. Imagine someone says, do you deserve respect? You can argue, but your work, your consistency, your outcomes will answer far louder. Results carry a finality that words can never achieve. So, my dear friends, don't waste your breath defending your dreams. Don't exhaust yourself convincing the world. Let your results speak. Let your achievements declare. Let your growth be the answer. Because while words fade, results remain. While arguments echo and die, results shine forever. And the sweetest part is this. When your results finally arrive, the same people who doubted you will not only stop questioning you, they may even applaud you. Results are your truest introduction. They are your loudest voice. And they are the one thing no critic, no doubter, no skeptic can ever take away from you. My dear friends, there is a hidden strength in humility. And silence, when practiced with wisdom, is one of the purest forms of humility. Because when you stop telling people what you do, when you stop announcing every step of your journey, you are essentially saying, I do not need the world's applause to keep going. I do not need constant recognition to stay committed. I am enough within myself. That is humility. You see, pride always wants to broadcast. Pride wants to stand on the rooftop and shout, look at me! Look at what I am doing! Look at how great I am becoming. But humility whispers, let me just do it. Let my work speak. Let my results reveal. I don't need to decorate myself with words. And in this quiet posture, there is tremendous power because people may doubt your words, but they cannot doubt your humility. They cannot deny your silent consistency. Let me share a story. Once, a wise monk was sweeping the courtyard of his monastery every single morning silently, without fail. He never announced it, never reminded anyone, never sought appreciation. Years passed. One day, a visitor came to the monastery and noticed how clean and peaceful the grounds looked. He asked, who takes care of this place so beautifully? The monks pointed to the old monk who had been sweeping all along. The visitor was astonished. But he never mentioned it, they said. The old monk simply smiled. His humility was his shield, and his silent work was his glory. This is the truth. My friends, humility does not need to be advertised. In fact, the more you talk about your work, the more the ego creeps in. The ego feeds on recognition, on acknowledgement, on attention. But silence starves the ego. When you choose not to announce, when you choose not to demand validation, you are training your heart to detach from pride. You are reminding yourself that you are not doing the work for applause. You are doing it because it is meaningful, because it is right, because it is your duty. Humility in silence also earns you a different kind of respect. Loud people may get attention, but silent, humble people earn trust. And trust is far more valuable than temporary applause. Think of the great rivers. They flow quietly, humbly, yet they give life to millions. They don't roar to announce their presence, they simply flow. And because of that humility, the whole world depends on them. In the same way, when you live quietly, when you let your humility shine through silence, people may not notice you immediately, but over time, they will recognize your depth, your sincerity, your integrity. There's another important aspect here. Humility in silence keeps you grounded. Success can intoxicate, achievements can blind, recognition can swell the head. But when you practice silence, when you resist the urge to constantly announce yourself, you remain anchored. You remind yourself, I am still a student. I am still growing. I am still learning. And that humility keeps you safe from arrogance, from pride, from downfall. Because history has shown us pride comes before a fall, but humility sustains growth. Even spiritually, humility is considered the gateway to wisdom. Why? Because a humble person listens more than they speak. They observe more than they announce. They absorb more than they display. And in that receptiveness, they grow. Silence becomes not only a shield against ego, but also a door to greater understanding. So, my dear friends, when you choose silence, remember you are not just protecting yourself, you are cultivating humility. You are saying to yourself and to the world, I don't need to prove myself with words. My actions, my consistency, my results will be enough. And in that humility, you find freedom. You are free from the chains of ego. You are free from the need for applause. You are free from the noise of pride. Let your silence carry humility. Let your humility carry strength. And let your strength carry you to heights where words are not needed, because your life itself becomes the testimony. Dear friends, everything we have spoken about, silence, protection, humility, growth, comes to its true completion here. Because the greatest beauty of not telling people what you do is this: your results will speak louder than your words ever could. You don't have to keep announcing. You don't have to keep explaining. You don't have to keep convincing. When you walk the path with discipline, when you water your dreams with consistency, when you guard your journey with silence, the day will come when your success stands tall like a mountain. And mountains do not need to introduce themselves. They simply exist, and the whole world sees them. Think about it. The sun never advertises its light. The moon never announces its glow. The river never broadcasts its flow. They simply do what they are meant to do, and the world recognizes them without a single word. In the same way, when you keep working quietly without wasting energy in explanations and justifications, your achievements become self-evident. People will not need to hear about your journey. They will see the fruits of your labor, and that silent witness, your result, is far more powerful than any speech you could give. There is a deep truth here. The more you talk, the more you dilute your energy. Words are like arrows. If you spend them prematurely, there will be nothing left when it's time to hit the target. But when you hold them back, when you focus your entire energy into action, instead of explanation, Your arrow strikes with precision. And that precision is what makes results undeniable. Let me give you an example. Imagine a student preparing for an exam. One keeps telling everyone, I am studying. I am working hard. I will get the highest marks. The other remains silent, studies late into the night, focuses deeply without speaking much. When the results come, who is remembered? Not the one who spoke loudly, but the one who delivered quietly. The marks, the achievement, the outcome, those spoke louder than 1,000 promises ever could. This is why, my friends, results are respected, words are not. People may doubt what you say, but they cannot deny what you show. That is why the great masters, the great leaders, the great thinkers of history, they didn't waste much time explaining their greatness. Their lives were the message. Their work was the proof. Their results were the loudest announcement. And here's the beauty: when results speak, you don't even have to defend yourself. Critics fall silent, doubters disappear, envy has no ground to stand on, because the one thing no one can argue with is truth. And your results are the truth of your effort. This is why silence is not weakness, it is strategy. Silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. Silence is not invisibility, it is power in disguise. And when you finally reveal yourself, you don't reveal with words, you reveal with undeniable reality. That is why I say, never waste your breath trying to tell people what you do. Use that breath to keep working, keep moving, keep creating. Let the day come when your life becomes your speech, your achievements become your introduction, your results become your reputation. So, my dear friends, let me leave you with this. Do not worry about who notices your struggle, who praises your effort, who acknowledges your journey. Keep your silence, guard your dreams, work relentlessly, and when the time is right, your results will announce you louder than any words ever could. At that moment, the world will not ask, what do you do? Instead, they will say, look at what you have become. And that, my friends, is the power of never telling people what you do. Because when you finally arrive, your success will speak for itself, louder, stronger, and far more beautifully than you ever imagined. My dear friends, as we come to the end of this reflection, I want you to pause for a moment and think deeply. In this